Thank you for tuning in to the Marriage Is podcast, and we are the Chosens.
And in our podcast, we will cover everything from dating, marriage, money, God, sex. Oops, did I say that? You best believe we're going to be candid and open and have this conversation, and we encourage you all to participate. So if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to give us a follow and message us at The Chosens on Instagram. That's at
THECHOZ3NS. Again, that's The Chosens on Instagram at THECHOZ3NS.
And we encourage you to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, like, and share our podcast. Help us to reach more people and touch more lives.
Enjoy.
What's up, everybody? You are now rocking with
The Chosens.
I am your host, Mrs. Chosen, and my lovely co-host.
You already know what it is. It's King Chosen. And today is our season finale of season 1. Clap it up. All right, yo, thank y'all for rocking with us. We're well over 200. We reached our goal of 200 plays, and we're well over that. I checked it last time, and it was like 260. I'm excited about season 1's finale because we brought some special guests. Our brothers, our sisters, you know what I'm saying? They are literally the answers to my prayers. Yes. I freaking needed people. For those that don't know, actually they should know, I'm not from Cali. People out here are weird. So I prayed for some people that resonated, and they came. Now introducing the one, the only, the 2 plus 1 in the spirit. Amen. All right. The Holmes. Clap it up. Clap it up. Alright, so how we going to do this is a little different. We're going to give them some questions so y'all, the listeners, can understand and know who they are as people. And just a little insight. So we got Rob and we got Tiff.
What up?
All right. So y'all ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Bet. So question 1. How long have y'all been married?
Ooh.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years December.
That followed the married pattern, you know. The wife always remembers, but the husband goes ooh.
Well, actually, last time when he asked me the question, I was like, "Oh, we've been married 3 years." He's like, "It ain't 3 years yet." I'm like, "Close enough."
Wow, round up, my brother.
Hey,
at this point,
Dang, we almost there.
Hey, yo. All right. Well, hey, listen. Hey, that happens. All right. So the next question is, what's the best thing about marriage for y'all?
who wants to go first?
That's fresh.
The best thing about marriage, for being married to Rob, is I'm married to my best friend. And so I get to do everything in our lives with my best friend. So, we make decisions together, we travel together, and I just get to live my life with my best friend. So it's dope.
Aww. Adorable.
Oh man. Okay, so for me it's pretty much the same, but I'm gonna give a different answer, not to piggyback. So for me, it's finally being able to come home to her, because we were in a long distance relationship for so long. So when I would come home from work, I literally just have to be on the phone until we fall asleep. And so now I get to see her every day. So that's the best part about it for
so
me.
Cute.
I remember that on the phone, falling asleep.
Yeah, that cake and stage, boy.
Man,
rough.
what? Let me tell you.
Rough.
Shit, I had to force her into it. She'd be like, all right, good night. I'd be like, dang, you ain't want to stay on the phone?
Yeah,
I had got to a point where I thought I was too old for stuff like that.
I feel you.
I'm grown, I'm going to sleep.
You're
Bye.
right. 75, right?
Wow.
1975.
Yo, don't play my girl. Don't play my homie.
I'm just saying, but it hit different, y'all fall asleep on the phone,
You know what I'm saying? Wake up to a dead battery or something?
Yeah.
Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, hit.
I mean, but on the flip, we've literally been together since I was 17, he was 18. So that caking, cutesy stuff is still a big part of our relationship, because that's how we started. So,
And at one point, that's all we had.
True.
So, yeah,
man. You feel me?
That's all we had.
All right, I want to keep that same. I want to keep that, because I think I might have a question that follows up later on. So the fourth question is, what's the best thing you've learned about her since being married? And then what's the best thing that you've learned about him since being married?
Well, her drive. Like, Tiffany just be, when she set her mind to something, she just go in. And she will not be denied. She's not going to take no for an answer. And just seeing that, like, well, let me get off my behind and go hard for what I'm doing too, because it don't make sense if I'm just BSing and she over here going hard for everything, making sure we straight. Let me go ahead and match that energy. So, like, just watching her work ethic, you know, even when she don't really want to be at the job that she doing, but she still give it 110%. And keep it pushing, putting in crazy hours, even working from home. Like, she still be putting in 10 hours a day, and I'm like, you're wild. Like, I would never do nothing like that. Never.
You're bugging. I don't get paid.
You said you need 8 hours. I'm gonna give you
I'm gonna
four
give you,
and a half.
I'll give you 5 if we count lunch. Like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not giving you 10, and I'm at home. You're crazy. No, but she'll do it, and I'd be amazed at that. That is the biggest. It's the best thing I've learned from her. Just her drive.
I feel that.
And she takes it over to the marriage, and she goes just as hard for me in the marriage like she do at work. So it's like,
that's what I'm talking about.
Don't nothing fall off. She keep that same energy, and that's when, you know, she with her support. And then, you know, if I'm receiving hate, she gonna go hard at you. If you going hard at me, so, you know, she gonna keep that energy. It don't go down.
That's facts.
So
all facts.
So yeah, that's the best part.
The lioness come out quick.
Yeah,
Don't
quick.
mess with Mr. Rob.
Quick.
Super quick.
Okay.
I think the best thing that I've learned about Rob is twofold, really. Like, he's very chill, and I'm very type A personality. Everything's got to be like done in a row, like A, B, C, D. Don't skip no steps, no in betweens, you know. But I need somebody who's like, yo, you ain't gotta be like, bring it down. You on 10, like, you could probably come down to at least 7, like, chill. And that just helps to balance out like life for me. But also, the other thing that I've learned about him is that, like, I've learned you ain't gotta speak on everything you feel. You know, like, Rob is very observant. And so, you know, we've had conversations, and then I come back and out, because I'm a hothead and he's like very chill. And so, like, I've had to come back and apologize for something, or I've moved in a certain way that wasn't, you know, 100% like how I probably should have, or I could have handled it differently, and I ain't say nothing. And so months later we'll have this conversation, and he'd be like, oh, I knew, you needed to figure that out, so I gave you the space to figure that out, you know. And so just watching him has helped me to give people the space to figure themselves out. You ain't gotta always address everything with a person. And so I kind of have taken that cue from him, but really is a lot just being a lot more chill, not stressed as much about work. I mean, because I could be like a really high strung about stuff, and he helps me to get out of my head about a lot of things. And so that just brings, you know, a sort of level of peace for me.
I feel it.
I think that's the really funny thing about marriage. Like, each person leads by example. Like, what you got from him and he got from you is based on observation and what you see that person doing. So it's kind of interesting how that works, and ties in perfectly to our discussion.
Yeah, for sure. You about to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, I think Heather Lindsay, she's done Pinky Promise, and she has a few other ministries that she has going on. But I never forget, I was at a talk that she gave, and she talked about marriage is like a mirror. Like, you guys really reflect one another, and so therefore you see, you know, the imperfections the other person has, vice versa, and you all hold each other accountable and kind of each other up. And so, you know, I can see the deficiencies that he has, he sees mine, and together since we're trying to, you know, be image bearers of the Lord and have our marriage really be a ministry to other people, we kind of help prune the other person, groom the other person, and kind of pick up the slack, you know, where the other person is falling short, and kind of like teach each other. So it is very much a balancing act, and, you know, kind of picking back off of the other person, sort of.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Definitely. Marriage is funny how it works, right? Like, a lot of people who aren't married have misconceptions, and maybe some that are have misconceptions that marriage is always 50-50, but it's always
100 and 100.
Yeah.
Totally. With that, like, it's funny you bring that up, because right before we got married, my mom's pulled me to the side and she was like, you know, it's not always gonna be 50-50. Like, sometimes, you know, you gonna be in the spotlight, and Tiffany gonna have to play the background.
Yeah.
And the roles is gonna reverse at some point, and you're gonna have to be okay with that, because she did it. You know, she might not have liked it, but she did it because she understood. So when the roles switch, you know, you got to be able to be that support system like she was with you. And I mean, like, it happened pretty much instantly when she started working, because like, you know, she was making more than me, but it didn't matter because she didn't treat me any different, and she still doesn't. You know, it's the same. So it's like, you know, when we first got here, I was the one working, and, you know, she was still grinding, but she really wasn't.
I wasn't financially contributing at that point.
Yeah, but I didn't treat her any different because I knew that she was gonna get there, so I really wasn't worried about it. So yeah, it isn't always 50-50.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I definitely want people to understand, and that's one thing, you know, we hope that people understand, especially in the new wave of marriage, right? That people know that it's going to be 80-20, it's going to be 60-40, it's going to always vary.
90-10.
Depending. Exactly. Sometimes it's 90-10.
Like, sometimes you carry the whole situation on your back. Like, you gotta go. And it's very much like that, but the reality is that both of you should always be giving. The thing is, it's not so much that it's not that you're not giving your all. It's sometimes you don't have nothing else to give.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes you're so low, or you're so, you know, whatever, and the other person gotta just put it on their back and carry the team because you don't have it. You know, like, there have been times, especially for me, like, dealing with depression, and I know, like, I felt so guilty sometimes, because there would be times where he was working, I'm at home all day, but I'm having a bad moment, and so, like, dishes ain't done, laundry ain't been washed. Yeah. My biggest accomplishment today is, like, I got out of the bed. Hello. Yeah. Go start for me. And, like, he had to carry that. Like, okay, I worked all day, gotta come home, cook, and do XYZ. Or, you know, and there are days where, you know, especially when he's gone on deployment, the whole house falls to me. And I'm like, I'm working, I got this dog that I'm responsible for. I'm, you know, paying the bills because you don't have access to your accounts. And so all of it it balances out, though. Like, the point at the end of the day is y'all a team, and, you know, you give the best that you got. And that's how it is. That's how it should always be. Give your very best, and whatever that is, you know. And
I think that's one of the things, too. People don't realize that 100% looks different.
For
like,
sure.
when you were going through your depression, your 100% was you getting out of the bed that day.
So that's a win.
Exactly.
So exactly.
Like, they have this idea of 100%, thinking that it's some level of perception that they have, perfection that they have made up, and that's not the reality of it.
And I always try to remind people that, like, look, you're not gonna be perfected till you get to Jesus. Yeah. So I mean, we're striving, we press towards the mark of, you know, the high calling of Jesus, but you're every day we're born and shaped in iniquity, and we fall short. That's the reality of, you know, of not just marriage, but of life, you know. And so with that knowledge, you gotta understand that everybody, you know, your good days, your bad days, everything's not gonna always be the same, you know. And so the point is, what God expects of us is our best, and our best looks different from day to day, you know. And as long as we're pressing and striving to get there, that's the important part. It's more about the journey than it is about the destination of perfection, you know.
Exactly. Go ahead. Preach that.
I have a question. and I don't know if it's on my Sean's list or not. How did y'all know each other was the one?
Oh,
whew.
Whoever want to go first.
I'm gonna let your boy take that one first.
I gotta tell the story again. Well, you know, for everybody listening out there, I'll tell the story again.
Oh gosh.
So let me see. I knew she was the one after our second kiss. So what that means,
first,
I'm explaining it. I'm explaining it. So we was in high school, and I'm gonna paint the picture for y'all. So we went on a date, and we went to this little park after the movie or whatever, and we sitting there and like she's kissing me, but I ain't never kissed no girl yet, so I'm just sitting there frozen with fear, anxiousness.
Hey, yo.
I'm like, and you know all right, full
I'm
transparency.
like trying to kiss I'm kissing his cheeks. I'm trying to like.
She tried to kiss my lips, and I'm like,
yeah.
And he like, he acted
no.
super. Like I really felt like the dude for a moment. Like I felt like I was peer pressuring him. I'm like, dang, like,
come on, girl, come on, babe.
Right? And he's just like, I don't know.
It's my first time.
He's over there in the car like, stop. And I'm like,
okay. I didn't say stop. That's a lie.
He didn't say nothing. But the point,
I didn't say nothing.
he didn't say anything.
What?
He didn't say nothing, but the point was like he was just I didn't know what it was. He just wasn't going at the time. He was just like I ain't gonna see you right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then like fast forward to like what? That Thursday or Friday, we was sitting in that hot ass car. And
No, it couldn't have been because the first day we went on was cold.
No, but whatever that day was, it was hot for whatever reason. Because it was after school. She don't remember.
No, I do remember.
It was hot.
Whatever.
This is marriage.
It was hot. I just remember it was hot.
It was hot though.
It was hot in that car, and like I finally had enough courage to like kiss her back, if you will. And after that, like you know, like all the corny stuff where they be like, oh, you feel like electricity or sparks, or you see fireworks. Like that really did happen. Like I felt something, and I was like, she gonna be the one. Now I didn't know how I was gonna get to that point, but like marriage being the point, obviously. But I didn't know how I was gonna get there because I was 18. But I was like, yeah, she the one. And you know, I knew that I was in love with her after that too. But because I was scared, she was still the first one to say it, and she still gives me mess about that to this day.
To this day,
she still gives me stuff about that.
Day.
But yeah, that's when I knew she was the one. Cause I mean, you know. Oh, and another little funny thing. So after I got the courage to kiss her, and we started making out and everything, and then like we go back home, and then she gonna be like, I think next time we should use breath mints. And I felt some kind of way. Cause I was like, I'm being vulnerable. I was being vulnerable. You know, I'm giving her my all. I'm giving her my all. So like, I think next time in the future we should use breath mints.
I forgot.
I was like, yo,
this moment, bro.
I'll never forget that. Like,
At least she ain't play you. Like, boy, your breath, boy.
She was so nice about it though, cause that's her way. Like, she was like, you know, I really enjoyed that, but in the future, we should both use breath mints beforehand. So I was like, she low key just told me my breath was hard, and she didn't want me to feel bad, so she put both in there.
Right.
I'm gonna get breath mint. You gonna get one.
We all gonna get a breath
We
mint.
both needed some gum or something.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, that's when I knew she was the one.
That's funny
For sure.
What about you, Tiff?
That's hilarious.
Yo, it was harder for me. It was a lot harder for me to define when I thought that he was the one. So I think I really liked him, and I knew that I loved him before we left for college. But I had a difficult, whereas Robert had very little to no experience with prior relationships before we got together. I'm just saying,
You was a good dude.
He was a good,
but
Just throw him out there. Here you go.
Cold as ice.
I dated, you know, and bruh, I was out here, but not out here. You know, I was out here kissing and having a good time. You know,
hey, do what you gotta do. What you gotta do.
And so I wasn't having sex at that point, but I was, you know, dating guys, making out, you know, having fun as a teenager. And so I have been in relationships, situationships, whatever, at that point. And so I felt like I had been in a situation where I thought I was in love. And so that didn't really pan out. Mm-hmm. And so my frame of reference for what I thought love and relationship was going to be like, especially because I come from a place where both my parents are divorced, I was just like, yeah, I love you, but this may not even work out. Like, how we even going to make this work? Because we were getting ready to, like, we literally got together right before we left for college. So I was like, I love him, but he probably going to find somebody else out in Carbondale, and I'm about to be 2 hours away. And low key at the time, I was thinking about transferring and going to Howard after my first semester or first year. So I was
Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Because I went to Stevens College, which is an all women's university, and so my thought process was I'm gonna get my GPA really high. Because when I was in high school, I played around, and so I didn't really have the best grades and the opportunity. But at so I was like, you know, I'm gonna get my GPA up, and I had a 3.6 at that point, and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna reapply to Howard because all my friends went to Howard. You know, like a bunch of my crew was there, so I was like, I'm gonna transfer and try to go there. Okay. But that was my plan. And so I was like, I love him, but we'll see how this goes. Man. And so it wasn't until he came to visit me in school my freshman year. I don't know if it was first semester or second semester, but he came to visit. And I don't know, afterwards I was really happy. I was just super excited. Actually I do remember now. He came to visit and we got into a fight. And I said some really messed up stuff to him. Mm-hmm. And he we laughed it off at first. And then we had like a real heart to heart. He was like, you know, telling me why what I said was so hurtful to him. Mm-hmm. And he was even making himself even more vulnerable than he already had to. Because what I said was messed up, you know. And so I didn't really deserve him to share himself in that way with me, to make himself any more vulnerable. But he did anyway. Yeah. And so afterwards, it just really left an impression on me. And I was praying about our relationship. And I just felt like God really showed me that we were gonna get married. And I was like, all right, cool. So that was when I knew he was the one.
Okay, all right. Shoot, I'm sorry, I just can't get the breath man. That's gonna like that's hilarious.
If don't nobody else take nothing else from this one, they gonna remember the breath mint.
They're gonna be like,
before we kiss, everybody get a breath mint.
Listen, y'all, look. Breath mints are important, y'all. Like, care. If you out here listening, you think about kissing somebody, grab you some Altoids. You know, Tic Tacs ain't cost that much.
That's self-care. That's self-care. Okay?
Come on now. Come on in here.
Scrape your tongue.
Scrape your tongue. Hey,
come on.
Yeah, if y'all ain't brushing y'all tongue, y'all need to be kissing. Just
like legit.
So you said God showed you he was going to be your husband. Mm-hmm. Y'all was going to get married. Mm-hmm. What was your prayer?
Okay. So majority. So since y'all know us, I've said this in our personal relationship several times. I was a terrible girlfriend at least the first 2 years of our relationship because I was so certain. At first, I had abandonment issues from family and friends. Not only like in relationships, but you know, family and friends experience with abandonment issues. And I was just waiting for the shoe to fall out, like the bottom to fall out of our relationship all the time. So I wanted it to be, it felt good. It felt like love. It felt like something I never experienced before. I felt very connected and bonded to this person, and we're not even physical. So I'm like, I feel very connected to this person, but I have been in relationships before where I thought everything was great, and then it all like fizzled. Or, you know, the person just got like distant or ghosting, or you know, just it was always some funny stuff. So I just didn't believe he loved me, and it took 2 years for it to settle in my mind. Like, oh, this is for real. Like, he's not going anywhere. Like, this is legit, long term. He's invested. this is a thing.
Yeah.
So, listen. So what I was praying, what I was trying to get to is, what I was praying is, I was like, God, if this isn't the right relationship for me, remove him. That's what I was praying. And he just was like, God was like, he here. He here. Like, he ain't going nowhere.
Prayer
and
number 10, he's still here.
And I'd be like, but God, are you sure? If he ain't the right one, remove him. And he would
come back harder.
Like, I'm here. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. Let me actually step up and show you that I'm here in this other way. You know? So yeah, that's what I actually was praying, is that God would remove him from my life, because I was afraid of my feelings. I felt so strongly for him, and I was like, this can't be right, Lord. Like, you're not supposed to feel this strongly about nobody. Like, just remove him. Clearly this is a distraction from you, God. Like, just remove him. And it was like, he kept showing me, like, in our development, in our relationship, no, this is him. This is it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you getting it on that shit. But all right, welcome back. Alright, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And my favorite part is that it's everything you need in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
So now to get into our main topic, now that y'all know about the homes, you know, they shared a lot, and I hope even in those there were some gems that y'all could take away. The topics for today is going to be keeping God first in your marriage, as well as being a millennial Christian and how it gives to your marriage. So, both of these questions came from our listeners. Usually what I do is ask, a question. Hey, what would y'all like to hear? What kind of questions would you like answered?
Okay.
And those, they would give me questions and stuff. So, generally how this question came about was I put it in one of my group chats and somebody responded.
Cool.
So, yeah, we can get started with that. Keeping God first in your marriage. Well, why is it important, right? So, in our marriage, it helps us stay centered. It always brings us back, right? Like, for example, if God wasn't first in our marriage, we would be separately first in our marriage, in our head. So in her head, she would probably be first, and then in my head, I'd probably be first, which would breed selfishness, right?
For sure.
And I feel like...
and discontent.
Exactly. And I feel like when we do focus on God, we give the Holy Spirit a chance to beat us up. So, like, if I do something wrong, and I know that's wrong, it gives me a reason to come back and be like, look, I apologize, and I know I was wrong. Let's make up, type thing. Like, I can. That has happened a couple times in my book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Any other thoughts?
I think keeping God first in your marriage really stems from keeping God first in your relationship. Mm-hmm. It's hard to make. First, like, when we got married, it was literally hugs and kisses and wonderful from the time we got married until right after we got married, he had to go to training. So it was like a month, and then we spent the next 6 months apart. And then to go from, and we've never lived with each other before. He's come to visit me when I've lived other places, but we've never lived together. So then we go from a point of, I haven't seen you for real in 6 months, to now, like, we're moving up. Not only are we living together, we drove across the country together to California in the same car for like 4 days. And now we're together all the time. Like,
jeez.
And so and then just from there, I'm not working. Money is messed up because the military be playing games. And Like, so we're not getting paid enough. We're worried about if we can afford our rent. Like, can we have groceries? Yeah. We live without furniture for 3 months. So the first 3 months we lived in here. So like we go from struggle to struggle to struggle within the first year, you know, and if God was not first in our marriage, there's like, it would have broken us. Yeah. You know, we
wouldn't be here talking to y'all.
Couldn't, because you know, it was hard. Like our first year of marriage, it was like, ooh, and then like, like when people say like the first 5 years is hard, it was like, I do. Now it's struggle. Like, now it's hard. Now it's game time.
You're like, Jesus,
where'd you go?
It was almost like as soon as we moved into the house, it was like
everything fall apart.
Test,
like legit. Test. And then it was, you know, I love Ali Wong. She has this skit where she's like talking about having a baby, and she's like, who invited this new roommate who doesn't pay rent? And so like we moved to California. We don't have no furniture. We sleeping on an air mattress. Yeah. Like I said, the money situation was all messed up. And then Robert's like, let's get a dog. What? We don't even have furniture, bro. You want to get a dog? Yeah, the dog sleeping next to the air mattress. The air mattress got a hole in it, so now we really sleeping on the floor, not an air mattress. Like, it was crazy. It was like, not only are we getting all the hardships, but now you want to add a third roommate who can't take care of themselves and don't pay bills. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's if we didn't have God, if we weren't praying, if we weren't like committed to this thing, like it would have been a wrap. Like there were times where stuff was so hard. I was like, I want to go home, and I had to remind myself, oh, you are home. You married now. Like you're 212. Stop being your house like the minute you said I do, girl. So ain't no coming home. Like, and I mean, thinking my mother isn't the type of person who would have been like, oh yeah, come home, baby. She'd be like, you better work that out with your husband. Like, you know, you could take a weekend trip home. You gotta go back. Like, you're gonna come visit. She wasn't having that.
Yo, so, my mom was so ready for me to get married. I didn't realize how ready she was. I was like, you seem like you had been trying to get rid of me forever.
Like, that joint happened so swift. I had to check my own self. I was like, wait a minute, who? You sure?
And she was quick to say, you got a husband now.
Oh yeah, for her birthday. Because I guess your mother used to plan stuff for your birthday.
Yeah, she would like give me cakes and stuff. She was like,
after that, it's a wrap. It's over.
You done.
I still get some things, boy, because me, you know, I'm my mom's only child, so she's like,
I struck rich, you know.
Shut up.
I chose up. It's lit.
Them gifts be lit. Because I get the benefit. I ain't even gonna hold you. It's nice.
Hey,
it's
there you go.
But I think, like, back to the topic, God first in your marriage really starts with God first in your relationship. And like, if you don't get it, if you don't, and then we were engaged a year and a half, like 18 months thereabout, and we went to premarital counseling when we could, because again, we were long distance. And those questions, they hit hard. Man. Like, what so how you gonna do what you gonna do when, you know, they make you start thinking about, like, so if he not working and, you know, he unemployed, what you gonna do? Are y'all gonna put y'all money together? Do he have debts? Do you have debts? What's the credit looking like? You looking at each other like,
and you're not even thinking about that. You just like, oh,
I'm happy, I love you, you know.
And it's way more than that.
When you start talking about them finances, like, I remember there's a part in our premarital counseling where they want you to talk about your family story. So you got to talk about, like, were your parents divorced, and like what was it like growing up in this family dynamic with what was your mom like? How did they raise your mom parent? How did your dad parent? And so you start looking at the family history, you start seeing patterns, and you like, oh, that's why you do. That's what I don't want, or keep that. I like, you know, you start to see the pathology of where the person comes from, and like how they start behaving. Or you start to see, like, they start telling you, like, things that they were acceptable in your house, and you like, my mama would never. You know what I mean? You got to start thinking, like, okay, how do we come together on this? And especially when you start talking about, you know, potentially raising kids and things like that, you start talking about your pattern of how you were raised versus the other person. And you be like, some side eyes be happening because, you be like, what?
Y'all was allowed to
do what? Exactly. Exactly. Okay, exactly.
That's so good though, because that doesn't cross a lot of people's minds to go that deep. Like we didn't go that deep in our marriage counseling.
Yeah, I think like the deepest we went was like, why do you love her?
Wow,
that was like day one.
Yeah, like legit. Like it was
day one.
Why you love her? Why? Because our pastor, our home pastor, Pastor Portis, he don't play. Like he's about like, and he told us up front, if I don't think you all should get married, I will not ordain your wedding. I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna put my name up on that certificate and stand before God and everyone else to agree with it. Because he was like, I'll tell you straight up, y'all shouldn't get married.
Yeah.
And if you do, somebody else might do it, but it's not gonna be me.
Yeah.
So, and he was very strong about that. So when we did premarital counseling, like we had to be for real. Like we had to answer hard questions, deep questions. I went to Pastor Portis because I had other issues that I needed to work out in my own heart.
Yeah.
So we were having conversations like that, and then the conversation we would have one-on-one, he would tie that into premarital counseling, and I'd be like, I don't. That was between me and you. Why you bringing up old stuff?
He's sitting there like, bruh.
Yeah, because like I was doing the same thing, having little sidebars with him through email or like trying to call him. Being in Norfolk, I'm like 2 hours ahead. So as soon as I get home from work, I'm trying to hit his line like, yo, like some stuff we need to talk about. And again, you tie it back to the premarital stuff, and then me and Tiffany had to have some real conversations, but it just made us focus on making sure that God was in the center of our marriage. And it just got us to like focus in on that, and it helps because like I said, when we first got here, it was rough, and if God wasn't in the center, we wouldn't even be here talking to y'all.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it was rough. Ain't nothing worse than it's payday and you got your check is hidden for $30 in your account because Sam messed up.
Yeah.
And you got your wife on the phone in tears like, where's our money? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Rob, because I feel like being the man is the head of the household, so having that God as the foundation of your marriage is a bit different for y'all. Like, I don't know, maybe it's harder, maybe it's more intense because you're the lead. Like, share something about your experience with that, or how that shifted, your mindset shifted when you got married, when it came to your relationship with Christ.
For sure. So, like, I know it was kind of a struggle because, it didn't click right away. It definitely took time because, there were certain things that I was used to having like Tiffany take care of and like lead because that was just kind of her personality. But once we got married, she actually would sit back on purpose and be like, nah, you gonna do that. And it just, like, I had to adapt and adjust to it, and like then just humbling myself and letting God lead me, which was also very hard for me because like I would, there were some points where I was like, I'd rather would just struggle by myself than to try to figure it out. And I think that's where we mess up when we first get married as men, because we trying to figure it. We like, we the head of the house, so it all come on our shoulders. Like it's our responsibility to do this, that, and the third. But you don't have to do it that way. Because you're not by yourself.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it's humbling. Like again with the money, like you ain't got nobody else to turn to. You just gonna pray, and that it's gonna be okay because God has already showed you it's gonna be all right. So you don't have to worry about it. But that was the hardest part. Just letting go and literally letting go and letting God. That was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
So after that, and I mean, like, I still have my hiccups and my challenges with it now. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, oh, I'm better now. Like, I still have struggles with certain situations sometimes. But just knowing that I'm not by myself, like, it's like I got I can come back to you, and if I'm going through something like, yo, what you think about this? Like, just having somebody else to talk to about it, it makes it a whole lot easier. So, I think I answered the question.
I will admit, because I'm smiling a little bit, because I've done that sometimes too, Tiff. I'd be like, he need to figure this out. You know, like,
but I would say on that, like, I have,
yeah, and I don't even tell you. I just be like,
It makes me appreciate Tiffany that much more because she trusts me enough to handle to make the decision. Like, at first it was wild because I was like, oh, you actually trust me to do this? All right, cool. And you know, like, you should even say, like, sometimes if it means that you gotta fail, like, okay, but we gonna stand by your decision, whether it was right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? She's like, I'm gonna be there to support you either way, but you know,
at least she tell you. Yeah, I don't think I tell him. I think I just
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But really, that is real talk. That is my mother. My mom raised me to be very strong. So my mom was married, and then it was just me and my mom. I mean, my dad was still active in my life, but my parents were divorced, and I lived with my mom. And so for 13 years, I saw my mom do whatever she had to do on her own, and that getting on my own, like never have to depend on anybody else. That level of independence, it took. That's also a part of that reason why it was so hard for me to accept his love, because it was like, you really loving me, exactly, and I'm independent. I don't need you, like, and I mean I would tell him, like, when we were today, I don't need you, like, I prided myself on being able to say, like, I'm in this relationship because I want to be in this relationship, not because I need you. I don't need you to pay for nothing for me. I don't need you to do any of those things for me. I appreciate it, because he's never stopped doing those things that, you know, taking me out to dinner, whatever. He's never stopped, you know, doing those things. But I was like, I don't need it. Like, I got my own. Yeah. And when you get into marriage, that is no longer a attitude that is helpful. You know, that independence ends up. It's not that you shouldn't have a level of independence. I'm not saying that you should become codependent, but what you do have to, independence can be the crippler for submission as a woman. It is hard to go from I got it to having somebody who's like, I got it. And having to be able to trust them. And also, like, Robert and I just were raised differently, so that's where that chill vibe and my type A personality clash, because I'm like, come on with it, you got to, like, you got to do it now. He's like, I got this, I'm gonna lay in the cut, and I'm like, lay in the cut, we got, what you talking about? Like, absolutely not, you know, like,
bills ain't in the cut,
like, they don't care that you chilling, like, get this money, like, you're tripping,
bills already paid,
like, and you know, and so, you know, that's where my mom would be like, you know, Tiff, you have to let him be a man, and you have to let him figure it out. You have to be willing to, you can't do everything, because he won't be able to step up and be the husband that you need him to be if you don't allow him to grow into that role. Man, you know,
growing pain.
It's hard.
But that's God in that, though, because that's God working on Tiffany to be like, trust your husband.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Because, you know, and then, like, my mom had to, you know, really check me about coming to her about everything. Well, what you think? Okay, Tiff, I appreciate that you value my opinion. That's important. But you need to circle back to him. You know?
Are we blood brothers?
Listen!
I swear.
Listen!
My mother was like, listen, don't come to me about nothing until you come to her.
Yes.
Like, we don't want to hear none of that. And I was like,
well, wait. Well, you're my mom. Like, what did you say?
I love your opinion.
Exactly. Your opinion matters, man. I'm like, exactly. And, like, so, you know, it's so funny because people inevitably either marry their spouse is some semblance of one of the parents, you know? And Rob is so much like my stepdad. My stepdad is like I look at my stepdad and I'm like, him, 30 years from now, that's you. Got it. I'm here. And there are definitely some differences, but I just see that in him. And so, like, I would talk to my stepdad or whatever, or in talking to my mom, like, Robert could be very passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And so, like, I talk to my mom, and I'd be like, I don't even know, like, because I'm not that way. Like, I'm definitely the explosive storm. Like, I'm popping off, and then it's over. I said what I gotta say. I'm over it. Like, I said what I gotta say. Oh, you not over it? Like, literally, I done cursed you out, went off, and then, like, I done cooled down 20 minutes later. Like, you want to get some ice cream? And he's looking at me like, you just called me everything but a child of God. And you talking about some ice cream. Like, I don't even want to say that to you.
Now I'm mad at you. Like, no.
Yes. So, but like, my mom was, the whole thing about letting him figure it out, letting him be your husband, show you, letting him step into that role. That's my mom. My mom would tell me, like, and it's very counterproductive to me. Like, my mom's like, sometimes you gotta let him fail. And my type A brain is like, fail?
We don't do
fail.
That.
We don't fail.
She equates failing to being homeless.
Like, legit.
Every
time.
Like, it's not
every
that
time.
Deep. It's not.
If this ain't her,
it's not that deep. It's
bro, it'd be like, how you jump from here to homelessness?
I'd be like,
bro?
maybe we just gotta be, live out the cuff for a little while, and then God gonna come through with that big blessing.
See, I am the exact, like, Lachelle cracks me up with that because, like, I remember we were talking about something, and she was like, just leave. Like, you ain't gotta, and I'm like, but bills, but A to B, like, house gotta be over the head. Like, what are you saying? And so my mom was like, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the budget and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, he gotta figure that out. You gotta let him, figure that out. And I was like, but what if he don't? And then she was like, well, then, one day the lights might not get paid. So you think I'm about to sit in the dark?
Yeah.
Bro, you crazy. Like, what?
You know who I am.
Right. Have you met me? This is not even...
Hello, lights on all the time.
All the time. All the lights.
But you know what? And my Sean and I had this discussion. I forget what it pertained to particularly, but I told him, I was like, no, you need to figure this out, because what if I'm not here one day?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was rough. It was finances. It was finances.
It's always finances.
Because that joint hit. I was like, what if you're not here one day?
Yeah, it's
bro, I personally ask God every day. Don't take her away from me. Then I started thinking about, like, oh dang, yeah, I really need to learn this joint.
And then we got kids, and you gotta take care of the kids, so you gotta know these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that it's always finances, but our mother-in-law, before we got married, she gave us the best advice. She said, listen, she said, people will tell you that infidelity is the number one cause of divorce. It's not
money.
It's money. So y'all need to sit down and talk about how y'all gonna work that out.
Yeah. And I brought her into debt right along with me. It's like, you don't got no rent? Oh, here's some rent. Throw it your way. We're gonna split that, John. You feel me? But it's high out here in California.
We're gonna get out it together. We're gonna get it out. We're gonna get out it together.
And Tiff, you hit on so many good things, like how our parents influence us, because the way I would just like take a back seat and be like, oh, he need to figure it out. It was the same thing my mom would do to me. She wasn't very vocal when I needed to make decisions. Mm-hmm. She just trusted that the way she raised me, I would figure it out. Mm-hmm. So like, I bring dudes around, had no idea she didn't like them till 10 years later. And I'm like, well, when you was gonna tell me this? And she's like,
my mom was definitely like, soul ties is the thing, and if I don't like them, it ain't it. Like, absolutely not. Like, she wasn't. But about a lot of things, my mom was a very heavy-handed parent. As far as, she was very involved. I never forget, like, I was in college, and me and mom, like, all of high school, me and my mom beef. Like, we clashed heads all the time.
Yeah.
Got to college and got overwhelmed, like, the very first night. And I was like, can you spend the night? And she's like, I got a twin-size, extra-long bed, right?
Yeah.
But she slept there in the room with me, like, I ain't leaving you. But also, on the same tip, there were things that I wanted to do by myself, like register myself or do little things, and she wanted to come with me. And like my stepdad, I never forget, they had like a helicopter's parent, like, seminar, and he made her go to the helicopter parent seminar because he was like, you're hovering, like, she gotta figure it out, she gotta grow up. But as I became an adult, like, the closer I got, once I like left college, because I tell you, I didn't know nothing in college. I didn't have no experience doing it on my own. Like, I was It was rough. Mm-hmm. But by the time I graduated college, she was like, you gotta figure it out. Like, you went to school, you had a little bit of extended adolescence, now start putting that into practice.
Yeah.
And so I had, like, living on my own, doing some things on my own, I had to figure stuff out. And so by the time it was time for me to get married, she was like, you got this. Like, you're grown. Like, I know you know.
I raised you well.
I raised you.
Job.
You got it.
Yeah.
You know?
You're gonna be fine.
My dad, like, now my biological father, he was like, I poured everything I needed to pour into you. So by the time I was like 16, 17, he was like, I already told you. And I will say, like, a lot of the lessons that my dad taught me have, like, I learned them at 12. I learned them at 13. Like, he was on it, you know, about a lot of things. So, you know, he was like, I never had no doubts. Like, you know, you might sway, you might fall, but you're going to get back up and you're going to be fine. But my mom, she was like, by the time we got married at 27 and he was 28, like, she was like, you grown and you got it. Like, you'll be fine. Or no, you were 27.
Oh, we doing math over there.
Well, because we got married in December and literally the next month is his birthday month.
Okay,
so,
right.
yeah.
Got you.
But, boy, he is a stickler on these days.
I said 20.
He ain't rounding nothing. He like that teacher that won't give you the curve.
Exactly.
Like,
come on, son. 5%.
Right.
Come on.
Round up.
Shoot.
So what are some things that y'all do to keep God first in your marriage?
Using my head on.
How you make sure, you know, that's still there?
You go.
Well, this is something that we should do more together, but we don't, and that's praying. Like, I know I pray for us, but I don't do it with her, and that's something that I definitely need to work on, because, you know, after we did the Bible study and we was pouring back into you, like, it was just dope to, you know, I finally got to do that while you were there. So that's something that I know I need to keep up. It's just us praying together, and that'll help
Solidify.
Yeah, most definitely.
And for those that don't know, we had a Bible study where Tiff gave an awesome across-generational word that can affect everybody. And y'all check that out. We'll probably link it in the bio by the time this comes out. But after someone pours out, especially if you're connected to them, after someone pours out like that and God uses them in such a way, it's always very beneficial to pour back into them. That's just protecting them from the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, those that have been used by God, you understand that you're tired, you're vulnerable, your mind is so susceptible to every little thing. So to have a tribe of people pour back into you after that, man, it's phenomenal. I grew up seeing that, and you know, it felt good to activate it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I was like, all right, I'm not gonna ignore this feeling.
Because I never seen anything like that before. So to like, and just to have her talk about that with friendships, and then just to have that tie back into it, like I was saying last time, like, that was awesome. And that's why y'all real ones, because you know,
always
God definitely answers prayers, and it's just like y'all real ones for that. Like just being able to pour back in, and I thought that was dope. Like I get goosebumps thinking about it, because like it was just that was amazing.
Yeah. Hey, you definitely hopped in my bag. I'm sorry. I keep doing this and I keep hearing y'all be like, oh dang, I hopped in again. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for me, keeping God first in the marriage, like I pray over Robert all the time. Especially when things come up, the thing that I'm working on is not just praying reactively, but proactively, you know? But a lot of keeping God first in our marriage is it's in the way that we love each other, you know, when it really comes down to it. It's the way that we communicate, the way that we talk to each other, the way that we talk about, we support each other. It's the actionable things that we do and the way that we treat each other, or thinking about love languages. It's the both of us are high on quality time and physical touch. That's like very high. I'm actually not words of affirmation, but acts of service. That's my number one, and then quality time and physical touch are tied for me. And I think you're like quality time and then physical touch is 1 and 2 for him. So since we're similar in that vein, it's like when he comes in, I try to like don't be on phone, Facebook, and everything else. Like really engage and be listening, be present. Yeah. And those are the ways that we honor God in our marriage. And then it's also like there's just so many things, tithing. I make sure that we're following the things that we know that we've been trained to do and things like that in marriage. But then also having your one-on-one individual, prayer time and study. I think that's another way. If you keep God first in your life, it's easy to continuously to show that in your marriage.
Yes.
And even though we are one, we come together as one. You know what I mean? But we still are individuals, and we need to take care of those individual, spiritual needs as we need, as God knows that we need to, in order to be able to move together. So that's a big part of keeping God first, is that I honor God first in my life, so that when he and I come together, there is no division, there is no separation.
Amen. Amen. I could say that I like keeping God first in our lives individually humbles us.
For sure.
Which makes him first in our marriage. Because once you submit to God, it's easier
to submit to your spouse.
And then that works both ways now. Bible say wives submit to your husband, but don't think they don't submit to us sometimes. Because sometimes God be like, you need to listen to what she said. So
every time.
Not some of the time. All the time.
And that's something that I think we should go into, like, before you get married, is understanding that as husbands, like, you also gotta submit to your wives, because it's not always explained, because you get the husband's the head, and so I think sometimes it ends up feeling like, oh, you're gonna do whatever I say,
and that's a dub.
No, like,
that's a dub.
Yeah, you're gonna run into a brick wall every time, because
for sure
your wife. Also,
especially if you independent woman, do what you say.
Yeah.
What I look like
do what you say. You gotta also understand that she's there with guidance and support. So for sure, you need to listen. Because she might see something that could help you get to where you're going. Because she's invested in this too. You know what I'm saying? So she's not trying to be homeless on the street with the lights cut off. So if she sees something that can help you to avoid that, you need to listen up. Oh, yeah. But that comes with being humbled and having God work on you to be able to listen. Just because you are the leader, it doesn't mean that your word is final. It also means that you can understand that the people around you have something to help you out.
I told you, he up next.
That's what makes you a good leader anyway.
And let's not forget the second half of that scripture that said, "Husbands, love your wife as
Christ loved the church."
Yep,
exactly.
And
like when you think about how Christ died for the church, for us, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it that's a big calling for a man. Like if you are loving your wife as Christ lived the church, you die to yourself every day. You know what I mean? Every day for the strength of that sacrificial love, bro.
I get off the game.
You gotta the big sacrifices and the small, bro.
It's 9:00. I want you to go to Chipotle, bro. Really?
Young, I'm hungry.
Now?
Where we going to get some food from? Everything closed. Well, Carl's Jr. is open.
Alright.
Grubhub don't deliver with Carl's Jr.
But so there's that love is the calling that is on a husband to love your wife as Christ loved the church, is a heavy calling. It's a bit, because that ain't what he said to the wives. He said that I'm supposed to submit to you, but he called me to love you like Christ loved the church. And when you think about like a love that is sacrificing, that willing to go to the mat to die for you, a love that would give upon themselves, a love that goes beyond pain, you know, for someone else. That's a big commitment that you have, a big responsibility as a husband. So, and when you, the thing that people sometimes forget is that if you as a husband are loving your wife like the Bible calls you to, it is so easy for me to submit to you.
Yes.
You will have less struggle with me submitting. If you're showing up for me, especially, you know, if my love language is acts of service, and you come in, and my big thing was like, I don't do dishes, but I come home and I see them dishes is done after or I cooked the whole meal, and then you come in, because I'm guilty of, when I cook, I use almost every pot pan in the house, okay, and then I'm like, oh, I'm tired. And then I wake up the next morning and the dishes are all done and taken care of. The sink is cleaned off. I'm like, that is love for me.
Exactly.
So when you ask me, baby, can you make me dinner tomorrow night?
Done.
It's
Exactly.
what you want.
That's
how
so
you want it.
real.
You know, it's
yes.
easy for me to give you that surrender, submission, when I see you already are there for me in that type of love.
And don't forsake the leadership, because no lie, I kid you not, because I was Miss Independent and all that too. My son showed me how to love him. And through him showing me how to love him, how to care for him, it made me want to do.
For sure.
And what I mean by that is like, this man would be so giving and so doing for me, and I was just like, dang, I want to do it for him now.
Exactly. It's like, you know, it's when keep that same energy is like the best, because you're like, oh, okay, you got, like, you know, there have been times where I never forget, I was in Florida, and it was really a humbling thing for me, but I got the dates confused on the internet bill. So I didn't have the money for the internet bill. And I called Rob, and he's like in the Navy at this point, and I'm like, can you give me like the money for the internet bill? He's like, yeah, no sweat. I'm paying it now. And I was just like, but for me, that was such a like pride thing, because I'm like, I don't need nobody, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hear that? $70 for the internet, like, you good? Or it was either the internet or the electric, which either way, it was like, dang, how you forget? Yeah. And he was like, I got you. I'm like, okay. So when he asked me for something, yeah, I got you, no problem. It's nothing for me to, you know, especially when you're willing to take care of my needs, because you could have been like, bruh, no, like, absolutely not. Like,
sit there in the dark.
You out of here, bro.
You know, like, you didn't owe that to me, but you did. Or, you know, Rob knows I love fresh flowers, so for me to say, like, not even have to say, like, I want some fresh flowers, and I come home and there's a like big bouquet of flowers on the table, I'm like, what you trying to do?
See, that's tight, because like it goes back to what you said earlier about marriage being a mirror, right? Because y'all are called to submit to us, right? But in our leadership, leading isn't always telling, it's showing, right? And that's the biggest part, because like, for example, when we was working out, like, to get her to work out was to get a racist to understand that black people matter.
Oh my goodness,
you know
really, dude?
Like, it was,
that's harsh.
That was strong.
It was young.
It was
like,
that deep.
I was like, bruh, you should be doing this. No, I got my body, I'm cool.
But when I mean strength training, y'all, because I was working out, I just was on the treadmill.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'm talking even before then, before we signed up for that. Yeah, I'm talking when we first got, because you was like, nah, I did my kickboxing, I did my boot camp, I'm tie-bowed up. And I was like, but it's not gonna last, because you got to continuously work to build that foundation up. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't until I took it seriously, because it's almost like I was projecting where I wanted to be onto her. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I needed to work out and get back where I needed to be.
Don't tell me to do it. You ain't even doing it.
You know? But it wasn't until I did it. And next thing you know, I just noticed she was doing push-ups, like real push-ups. And I was like, time out.
Yeah.
When did that start? When did you start doing this? And then, you know, it like clicked. It was like the Holy Spirit was like, see, if you do it, she'll do it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that definitely, for all y'all out there listening, you know what I'm saying? Husbands, if you want her to submit, you must show that same energy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You must lead. She cannot submit. The Bible does not call her to submit to a bum.
Hey.
True.
Okay, or a fool, or an abuser,
or somebody who don't got no plan.
Exactly.
Let me tell you.
Exactly. You wondering why?
To Christ, dude, and then she submit to you, not just do what you say.
Exactly. Don't get your head built up, because God will humble you quick.
So fast.
So to keep your marriage, God first in your marriage, we talked about, praying together, which is a big one, because it fell on my spirit that we should start praying more together, but also pray separately to keep yourselves in order, what I'm saying? Sure. To address your personal, but your covering at the same time.
Coming together, to pray together, I don't know, it's hard for me because I'm so used to having my own time.
That's him.
With God. Like, I'm so, it's so sacred and private to me, even though we pray together, but we don't do it enough because I'm just like, I got it. Yeah, and it almost feels weird saying your prayers in front of you, which it shouldn't. But
it's a vulnerability.
We don't do it. That's
exactly what it is.
That's why I hate when you put me on the spot, because I be like, I don't want to do that.
And I be quick,
and the truth comes out.
Right. Like, it's so. This is so funny because I've told Rob like a couple times, like, me and my Sean be like right here, and you and Lachelle be like, I be like, how is it? But God always knows who you need in your life. You know what I mean? Because Rob is always like, just do it, and that's Lachelle. Like, Lachelle's like, just do it, and
just jump off the bridge.
But you gotta think about the things before you do them. She's like, do it.
Bro?
But see, if you think too long, you're not gonna want to do it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Which is true.
So just go ahead and just do it. But I ain't know how to swim, and I still joined the Navy. Like,
that's
you think
true.
I'm gonna let that stop me,
bro? You gotta listen. I have been on Rob. He's like, they gonna teach you how to swim when you get to the Navy. I was like, they not gonna teach you how to swim, babe. Like, you should really take these YMCA courses. No. He's like, nah, the Navy gonna teach me. Got there and they was like, so do this prone float or die. Like get in this pool. Swim.
You said show up or die. I guess I gotta show up.
Like, do this float, do this thing, or like you out. And God brought him through it. He made it through boot camp, but
I told you, they gonna teach you how to swim. It's not conventional.
Hey, sometimes you don't need conventional.
To this day, I'm not Michael Phelps in any shape, form, or anything like that. But I can float on my back for minutes at a time.
And that's gonna get you through till you hit shore.
So I ain't worried about it.
As long as the sharks don't come by.
You kind of taste it.
They in there anyway, so we just gonna we gonna be all right. But you think on it too long, then you gonna be like, I shouldn't join the Navy. I can't do it.
Facts.
I can't swim. Just go.
Just do it.
Yeah. So all right. So we got the praying together, praying separate. If you keep God first separately, then it'll pour over into the next one. Mm-hmm. So that's the main. That's for same thing, because the main thing is prayer.
Right.
For sure. Right. Prayer.
That relationship.
Exactly.
But like also too with that, to keep it focused, having friends that's like in a similar situation.
Oh yeah.
Like it's real big for us to have Black married friends.
Oh, for sure.
Because let me tell you, this one over here, she'll find somebody like, oh, I just found a friend, and then it's some white chick, and nothing against it, that probably came out wrong, but it's like, bro, we really don't really got too much to comment, because like they have been in the military longer than me, so like we really wouldn't hang out anyway.
Yeah.
But we just friends because y'all is friends.
Yeah.
So like
it's a commonality thing.
I think the commonality is important. Don't get it twisted. Like, I think what was more the barrier is that there was an age difference, that we were almost like 10 years apart in age.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's good to have those friends who are older than you that can give you advice, and they're like mentors and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But I think the other part and component to that is, if we don't have other relation points besides work, and Jesus is a good relationship point, like, to have in common with people. But then, like, also, you gotta have more than just Jesus and work. There's there's something about which I appreciate about having people who look like you or who have similar cultural experiences and backgrounds to you, that you can just, there's some things that like you try to explain to your friends of other ethnicities that like they just don't get because that's not their experience.
Yeah. Right.
And so then there becomes this like educational component to your relationship because you're constantly having to teach,
and that's so
and it can be draining. Like it's so good to be able to come among other Black people, especially Black married people, because even like among some of my single friends, like I try to be like tell them stuff about, you know, marriage, and they're like, oh, that's silly, or y'all gonna be fine, and it's like, yo, but it's not just that, like, because like you know, when you're married, sometimes you know that, okay, it's this little piece, but this is a bigger issue for this. Yeah. And when you're single, it's just like, I didn't think it, like, because to be honest, I never forget my mom. I'm the youngest of 5, so my mom's only biological child, but I have 4 older stepbrothers. All of them are married, and then I have a sister who's like my adoptive sister, and so all of my siblings, with the exception of my brother Dewan, who's a year older than me, are married and have children, etc. So I remember we went on this girls retreat with all my sisters-in-laws and my sister Jeremy, and they were all of them had been married at this point for some time, and I wasn't married. You know, I was still in college. But Robert and I have been together already for like 5-6 years. Yeah. And so like I was offended because like my mom was like asking all of the married people like their thoughts and opinions on stuff, and like she wouldn't ask me. And I was just like, but I've been in a relationship longer than some of these people in here been married. And then I got married, and I was like, "Oh, it's not the same. It ain't the same. It ain't the same." Like when I thought it was the same. It was not. Like, especially when you're moving in a way that is, you know, from a spiritual connection. You know, the obligation that is that, you know, that vow that you take. People, just to put a pin here to settle in on the part about vows. Vows is real. Like, that is for like when you say for better or worse, sickness and health, to death do you part. Like, that is forever. God didn't say like till when it's not convenient. Like you know, like if he broke, you still gotta be married to this man. Yep. If he's sick, you still, guess what? You gotta take care of him and
deal with the medical bills.
Hello, like, you know, it just, you get to really seeing in there like, oh snap, like this is a forever thing. Yeah. Like this ain't no, you know, small time commitment. This isn't a part-time thing. I can't just be kind of invested. Like, this is all or nothing. Real talk. And so, that being the case, you just get to a point where you're like, shoot, this is real. And then when you don't have friends who don't understand that, who don't understand like the level of commitment you have to the person that you marry, there's some things that like I just can't talk to you because you don't understand what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? You don't understand, like, he keep doing this one thing and it's driving me crazy and it's causing separation between us, and so now I'm gotta do my heart check. But all you can hear me say, like, oh, he just don't never clean the sink when he like
it's deeper than what it says.
Exactly. It's never just that. It's the heart of the issue is, you know, that this is a problem. This is something that I keep talking to you to, and it seems to me like you don't care about what's important to me. So now we got this other division happening in our marriage. Oh, and it seems like it's the small, because it's really the accumulation of the small stuff that makes up the division. You know, that causes the separation. And I had no idea of that when I was single. You know what I mean?
Because it's different when you don't have like that commitment.
For sure.
It's just when it's just easy to leave.
Oh yeah.
You out. You be like, oh,
you ain't gotta be in front of that person 24/7. You ain't gotta sleep with that person every night. You know?
That marriage hit, you be like, I'm about to.
You think twice. You be like,
I like my bed. All right, so let's sit down and talk about
this. We gotta
hash this out.
Before we wrap this up, I do want to say thank you guys for doing this with us, because this has been absolutely amazing. We didn't even get to the second question, so we may have to do a part 2 on this. But I want to say you brought up a good point, and I want to expand on it before we leave, and this is so important. be cognizant, be aware of that spiritual divide. I literally can feel when there's tension between us and our energy starts shifting apart. And when y'all can't see this, but I'm pulling my hands, I'm separating my hands from each other, because that divide is when the enemy go ahead and creep right in between there. And I don't know if you felt that, but I can feel that shift in that energy.
And she won't let me go to sleep till I talk about it.
Like we gonna talk about this tonight.
Bruh.
Like, nah.
Get up in the
But you know what? He tried to put it off on me. Like, I won't do this. I won't let him go to sleep. But he's the same way. Like, especially when, like I said, I'm the hothead between the two of us. Like, I've always been like, I got an attitude, and I'm about to let you know I got an attitude. Well, usually what happens is like, you done did 10,000 things, and I done tried to keep my cool, and now I lost it. Ain't no going back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, so we'll have that point, and he'll be trying to talk to me, and I'll be like, I just told you I don't want to talk about this no more. Like, talk to me tomorrow. And he'd be like, no, because you my wife, the enemy not about to get in, so we're going to talk about this tonight. And I'd be like,
yeah, she can't stand
no, I want to get to bed.
Hey, the first time I felt that energy shift, I was like, skirt, what is this?
Exactly.
What's going on? I was like, oh no. Oh, thank you, Jesus, for revealing this to me, because it's something you can't see.
Yes. Yeah. It's the hardening of your heart is not something that is a visible thing, but it's felt. Like, the minute the energy shifts, the minute because I've said this a bunch of times, that as people, we just want to know, like, you're here for me. I want to know that I'm seen. I want to know that I'm understood. You see me, you hear me, you care about what's going on with me. And the minute you change up the energy, you do stuff, because sometimes you do things and you don't really realize it. That's the issue. But like, I remember, so this is something we're working through right now in our marriage, is that, like, when Robert went on deployment, everything fell on me, and it was stressful. I was stressed to the max, and I was frustrated because, one, I never wanted to live on base. I always wanted to live off base, just because I wasn't accustomed to being confined. And then I work for the government now, and even though it's a different military base that I work on, I feel like I'm always at work because I'm always on a military base. So I had this situation going on. No shade, no tea, but military spouses, whether you're a wife or a husband, are weird. All I'm weird, so I can attest to it too. But, like, it's just a weird energy between you get some cool military spouses, but like, finding the cool ones is like a needle in the haystack. Like,
wow.
Listen, it's hard. Military spouses be weird. I told y'all I've had the girl breaking into my backyard trying to steal my dog. So and that's the nature of deployment, is that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. If something was on the fritz before he left, just know it's gonna be broken when he gone. And so when he came back, I was like, I handled everything for the last 6 months. It's all on you now, bro. I ain't doing nothing. And he had to, like, legit, I was like, I ain't washing no dishes. I'm not washing no clothes. Whatever I didn't get to, that's on you too. This dog that's been driving me crazy for 6 months trying to leave, that's your responsibility. These bills that I hadn't had to work, that's on you. Everything.
And he like, Wody, I'm tired.
I just came home from deployment. I was like, it ain't my problem. Take it up with Jesus. I ain't doing it. And like, even still, like, I'm slowly trying to, like, take over things again and start doing stuff. But, like, it was hard. I meant that, because I felt like it wasn't so much that I felt like he left me. I just felt like I was alone. When your spouse is gone on deployment, it feels like you're single again. Like, because he was gone on the other side of the world, where they barely had Wi-Fi, so we barely were able to talk to each other. And so now I know I'm married, because I got all the remnants and the signifiers. I got this house, I got this car note, I got all whatever, but I don't feel like it because I don't have my partner with me. And like, I feel like I got to do it all by myself. And so I was resentful. I was, like, very resentful. And so my heart was hardening. And he could feel it. And so we would talk about it. But, like, there was still a part of me, like, and you left me to do this by myself. And every time I think about the fact that like something happened, you're mad all over you. You left me to do this by myself.
It still go back to Micronesia. Like you was gone.
Like he's like, I couldn't help that. Like the government said I had to go, girl. Like, but you left me in Micronesia, you know. And so, you know, that heart, like he's had to love me through that feeling. And you know, and I think it's also present in like just how I noticed that I cling to him so much more. I don't think I ever was a clingy, like, sit right next to me, let me be right on you, like, let me touch you. But the fact that like I know in the back of my mind that he's gonna leave again because of deployment has made me like, sit next to me, hold my hand, let me be closer to you.
Get in it now.
And he has, and like, it can be annoying, but he has to reaffirm to me, like, I'm not going, like, yes, I have to do this for my job, but I'm not going nowhere. You know? I'm here. I'm showing up for you. I'm going to do what I got to do. And that you know, that it's that way for any time you're in a relationship, no matter what it is, you know, when you feel that hardening of the heart, the distance, you gotta just step up and show up for the person.
By the way, PG, I was talking about all the time together. That's it. That's all I was saying. All the time together.
Alright, so before this gets too crazy, like she said, we just want to thank y'all for being a part of this.
Yes,
you know, we really appreciate y'all beyond what y'all words can explain, for real.
We appreciate y'all too.
I swear, I think without y'all, I probably would have went crazy personally. You know what I'm saying?
I was at that point for sure. I was most definitely at that point because, like, I'm tired of going to these people's houses, man. All I do is go to sleep over there. We don't got nothing to talk about.
Hey, Jim, you like the poker? Yeah, I love it. All right,
buddy. Well, one day we're going to
I didn't feel that way. I just want to go on record and say that I didn't feel that way, but I really did. I did feel very strongly, like, I will say I didn't feel as invested in this area before we had y'all. Like, I was just like, well, bro, when the next order is coming, like, I can leave it. Like, I don't need this, you know? And now that you guys are a part of our lives, I'm like, but our village, our friends, like.
Our tribe, our mini tribe we have here now.
We have a tribe. I don't want to. And Karina, too, you know, she's a part of that as well. But,
oh, absolutely.
For sure. But, all right.
Thank you guys for rocking with the Chosens.
This is an hour-long special, so I hope y'all enjoy it.
Yes, got all those golden nuggets, but we will be having a part 2. Y'all gonna have to wait till season 2 for part 2 because we gotta get into this millennial Christianity thing because that's a whole nother.
For sure.
Woo! But it's gonna be good. Yeah.
Exactly.
But until next time, thank you for rocking with the Chosens.
And the Homes.
And the Homes.
Peace.
Peace.